It was August 21st, 2017, a quiet morning in the peaceful suburb of Farmington Hills, Michigan. The day began like any other until two teenagers made a discovery that shattered their lives forever. In the backyard of their home lay their mother, 35-year-old Nada Harana, face up on the cold stone patio. At first, everything seemed like a tragic accident, as if she had simply fallen from the second-floor window. But almost instantly, details began to whisper that something wasn't right. Moments earlier, 14-year-old Aya Alantawi had been frantically searching for her mother. She couldn't find her anywhere in the house. The car keys were still on the counter, her bag untouched. Then, glancing out a window, Aya froze. Her mother's body was sprawled below, lifeless. She screamed for her brother. 16-year-old Mohammed rushed to the patio. Aya dialed 911, her voice trembling as she handed the phone to her brother. He began CPR, counting aloud, 1, 2, 3, 4, his voice shaking. When the first police officer arrived, Aya led him through the backyard. Mohammed was still over their mother, pressing on her chest. The officer took over CPR, but when paramedics arrived, it was too late. There was no pulse. Nada was pronounced dead at the scene. At first glance, it looked like a fatal fall from the guest room window above. But the more officers observed, the stranger it became. Inside that room, everything was too perfect. A small stepladder stood neatly in place beside a spotless bucket of water. A bottle of cleaning solution balanced on top. The floor was dry. Nothing looked disturbed. Not even the bucket's surface rippled, as though no one had been moving around it. The window's edge had streaks of dried cleaner, not glass cleaner, but Tilex, a product for tiles, not windows. On the sill, officers found a single piece of adhesive tape, for reasons no one could explain, and outside near the body, a towel lay twisted on the ground, soaked in a strong chemical odor. The position of Nada's body also made no sense. She lay on her back, unusual for a fall. There was no blood, no shattered bones, and no signs of a violent impact. Something was off. Inside the house, everything else seemed undisturbed. No forced entry, no signs of struggle. And yet, the more police searched, the more they realized this wasn't an accident at all. When detectives reviewed the home security footage, one camera changed everything. It didn't capture the window directly, but the light and shadows reflected on a nearby wall. At 5:53 a.m., the light in the guest room flicked on. A silhouette appeared, a person moving near the window. Seconds later, the shadow seemed to lift something heavy from the floor and push it through the open window. After a pause, the figure leaned forward, peering out, then disappeared. The footage was chilling. It confirmed one thing: Nada didn't fall. She was pushed. The autopsy later revealed the truth. She had been strangled to death before being thrown from the window. The fall was staged to hide a murder. Before we go further, share in the comments, where are you watching from? And what time is it right now? Nada was a devoted mother of 3, a fitness trainer known for her bright energy and disciplined lifestyle. Neighbors often saw her jogging at dawn. Friends remembered her as strong, warm, and endlessly devoted to her kids. But behind her optimism was a long struggle, a collapsing marriage, and a bitter divorce. Her husband, Dr. Basil Alantawi, had once been a respected internist. The two had married in Syria in 1999 and later moved to the U.S. But their relationship had crumbled under years of tension and control. Nada wanted freedom. In 2016, on Valentine's Day, She accused Basil of pushing her down the stairs during an argument. He denied it, but eventually pleaded guilty to domestic violence. The court ordered him to stay away for 2 years, wear an ankle monitor, and undergo probation. Around the same time, Basil's medical career fell apart, charged with Medicaid fraud and forced to pay nearly $280,000 in fines. He lost his license, his income, and his status. Nada filed for divorce. 2 days before her death, she was set to appear in court. She wanted a clean break, custody of her children, and a chance to rebuild her life. But Basil resented her. He accused her of Americanizing the kids, especially their daughters, and turning them away from Syrian traditions. To the world, Basil appeared devastated when police told him Nada was gone. He collapsed to his knees outside the house. But detectives noticed something. His alibi was airtight. His ankle monitor proved he hadn't been near the house that morning. That left one chilling question. If Basil wasn't there, who was the shadow in the window? Police turned back to the footage. They slowed it down, frame by frame. The shadow's build looked distinctly male, short hair, broad shoulders. Then came another clue, the 911 call. In the footage, Mohammed was seen leaning over his mother's body. But something was off. His movements didn't match the voice from the call. On audio, he was counting CPR compressions. But on video, he stopped several times, sitting motionless beside her, pretending to perform CPR. It looked staged. When Aya arrived with the police officer, he suddenly began pressing harder, as if trying to make it look real. The officer even noticed he was holding his phone in one hand while doing CPR with the other. Detectives decided they needed answers, and quickly. A few days later, they brought Mohammed in for questioning. At first, his tone was calm, even polite. He told them he went to bed around 11:30 p.m. and woke up at 6 a.m., only after hearing his sister scream. But that wasn't what he'd told police earlier. At the scene, he'd said 6:30. That half-hour difference caught their attention. When asked about his relationship with his mother, he said, "We're pretty normal. We used to have issues when the divorce started, but things have been fine." But things weren't fine. Detectives began pressing about the cameras. Did he know they were recording? He said no. Then they told him someone had been seen beside his mother right before she fell. They gave him an opening. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe you were helping her clean the window. He froze. His story began to shift. He said Nada was cleaning that morning, and he'd only brought her a spray bottle. She'd been on a ladder, removing the screen. She leaned forward, he said, and she tripped. I tried to grab her, but she fell. I didn't know what to do, so I went to take a shower. I thought I was dreaming. Detectives knew the story didn't add up. But before they could push further, his father arrived, furious. Basil demanded the interview stop immediately, insisting his son wouldn't say another word without a lawyer. When investigators analyzed Mohammed's phone, everything suddenly made sense. That morning, starting at 4:27 a.m., nearly 90 minutes before his mother died, he had called one number more than 50 times. The contact name? Love. 8 of those calls happened before 5 a.m., around the time security footage showed the bedroom light switching on. Then at 5:55 a.m., the exact moment his mother's body fell from the window, Mohammed received an incoming call. It was from Love. Police traced the number. Love wasn't a girlfriend or a friend. It was his father, Basil. Detectives uncovered months of secret communication between father and son. Hundreds of messages, photos, and recordings from inside the house. Mohammed had secretly been recording his mother's conversations, even her private talks with her divorce lawyer, and sending them to Basil. Worse still, the way they labeled each other in their phones told investigators everything they needed to know. In Muhammad's phone, his father was saved as Love, his mother as Dog. One message, sent a month before the murder, showed Nata warning her son that she knew about his father's illegal activities. Information that could send Basil to prison. Muhammad had forwarded that message to his father immediately. Weeks later, another photo appeared on Basil's phone. A picture of the second-floor window, the same one Nata would fall from. It looked like a rehearsal. By this point, detectives were sure this was a planned murder, not an accident. But they still needed proof. When they returned to the house, they searched again. Inside the washing machine, they found a brown bath mat soaked in water and chemicals. In the dryer, a pair of jeans and a t-shirt belonging to Muhammad. Both were damp and freshly cleaned. Nearby, bottles of bleach, antifreeze, and rat poison lined the garage shelves. Everything was seized for testing. But the most incriminating detail came from the family computer. At 8:10 a.m., while paramedics were still at the scene, someone had tried to delete files from it, remotely. Someone who knew exactly what they were doing. That same day, police moved in and arrested 16-year-old Muhammad Alantawi, charging him with the murder of his mother, Natada Harana. During the interrogation that followed, Muhammad said little. His lawyer advised complete silence, but investigators already had enough. Messages, calls, and video footage that painted a chilling timeline. For detectives, the evidence suggested one thing. The 16-year-old had strangled his mother and staged the scene to make it look like a fall. The motive? Loyalty, manipulation, and control. Muhammad's love for his father bordered on obsession. To him, Basil wasn't just a parent. He was a hero, a man wronged by the woman who had destroyed their family. When Nata filed for divorce and prepared to testify against Basil, it threatened the image Muhammad worshipped. And Basil, stripped of his license and wealth, relied on his son's devotion. Together, their secret communications became an echo chamber of resentment. Investigators believed Basil didn't need to pull the trigger. He only had to plant the idea. In September 2017, forensic analysts confirmed what detectives feared. The towel found near Nata's body contained traces of cleaning chemicals and faint residues consistent with ammonia-based solvents. The bath mat from the washer showed similar traces, alongside fibers matching the fabric around Nata's neck. While no single test identified the exact substance, the evidence pointed to chemical suffocation, the same way the coroner described her cause of death. Strangulation with chemical burns consistent with a cleaning agent. Still, prosecutors were cautious. The case was complex. There was no direct footage of Muhammad's face, no eyewitnesses, and a father who appeared legally uninvolved. But the digital trail was overwhelming. In one recovered text exchange, Basil wrote, "Don't worry, you know what to do. Allah knows your intentions." The message was sent 2 days before the murder. When the trial finally began, years had passed. The pandemic delayed proceedings, and Muhammad, now 19, walked into the courtroom, taller, quieter, emotionless. The jury saw a young man in a suit, but the prosecution saw a manipulative killer who had betrayed the person who loved him most. Prosecutors reconstructed the morning of August 21st in haunting detail. They showed the jury the security footage, those flickering shadows on the wall, the silhouette pushing something heavy through the window, the timestamp, 5:53 a.m. Then the footage of Muhammad on the patio, pretending to give CPR, counting loudly while barely touching his mother's chest. They argued that Muhammad killed his mother to prevent her from testifying at the upcoming divorce hearing, a hearing that could have sent his father to prison. Aya, now 17, took the stand. She sat straight, her voice soft but unwavering. "My brother wasn't the same after the divorce started," she said. "He thought Mom was trying to destroy our family. He said she'd get what she deserves." Her words pierced the courtroom. Aya described how her brother's anger grew every time their mother spoke about court. How he started siding completely with their father, parroting his words, accusing Nada of betrayal. "He was obsessed with Dad," she said quietly. "Whatever Dad said was the truth." She recalled their final morning together, the confusion, the panic, the image of her brother kneeling beside their mother pretending to save her. When the prosecutor asked if she believed her father was involved, Aya didn't hesitate. "Yes, both of them," she said. "My mom feared him, and he used my brother to do what he couldn't." The courtroom remained silent long after she stepped down. The defense built its case around one word: doubt. They mentioned a male coworker from Nada's fitness club, someone who had visited the house before, suggesting police ignored him completely once they decided Muhammad was guilty. They reminded jurors that the chemical evidence was inconclusive, that no single test proved a specific toxin. After just 1 week of testimony, the case went to the jury. Deliberations lasted barely 2 hours. When the verdict came, Muhammad showed no emotion. Guilty. He was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 35 to 60 years in prison. He would spend his entire adulthood behind bars. Basil Alantawi, despite the calls, the messages, and the evidence of manipulation, walked free. Prosecutors said there wasn't enough proof that he had directly conspired in the murder. His son's silence protected him. As the courtroom emptied, Aya spoke briefly to a reporter outside. Her voice was steady, but her words carried the weight of everything she'd lost. "They both killed her," she said. "One with his hands, the other with his words." She cut all ties with her father and brother that day. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think? Could a 16-year-old really plan something this cold-blooded? Or was his father pulling the strings? If this case moved you, please take a moment to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss the next true crime story we uncover. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.